G'day guys, ZiggyD here, let's talk some Path of Exile. The footage in the background is from an evasion melee tank experimental character thing I'm working on. Basically just testing like a bunch of different like defensive layering mechanics and seeing how they all go together. I don't really know if it intends to be a build at any point. It's more just an experiment in learning about game mechanics myself, so I'll probably talk some more about that in the coming days. But the topic for today is basically racing in general. We've had three kind of major race announcements, and there's a lot of discussion about racing going on for Path of Exile at the moment. There's a State of Exile coming up in a couple days. We'll be talking about racing with a few other guys as well, so check that out when that comes out too. But for now, the first announcement that I want to talk about is the announcement that there would be no race season this season. So the intended time bracket for this race season was essentially cancelled. Chris posted the other day in the race forums that we won't be running a race season during this current challenge league. This is a combination of new race stuff not being ready yet, and the team being critically busy working on new content that we haven't yet announced. Now that, since the 2-week race has been announced, and it was not work on that they're working on. So this leads me to believe that this is work on the next expansion that they're working on here instead of the race season. In addition, there's an ongoing discussion about potentially running a 2-week league, so that has been announced. We'll talk about that in a moment. And racing is important to us, and we do intend to not only run more seasons, but to continue to improve it over time. Sorry about the lack of season this league and the slow communication about this issue. So we were waiting for quite some time about a race season announcement. I was starting to think like, wow, when's this race season going to be? It's going to be like halfway between, you know, this current league and the next league at this rate, because they left it so long to announce it. But it sounds like internal to GGG, they were trying to get something more significant done for this race season and weren't quite able to meet that deadline. I mean, I've been there before. I'm sure many of you guys have been there before, where you're like pushing something back and back, and you're just like, look, we're just gonna have to accept that we're not gonna be able to get this done in time. And I think it sounds like from the tone of Chris's post here and from talking to him in the past that they didn't want to put out just another regular race season, right? They didn't want to just put out another race season exactly like the last one. If they wanted this one to be bigger and more special. And on one level, I think that's a good idea. Honestly, on one level, I think that's a good idea. I think racing is essentially important to Path of Exile. I think it's super important. And if they are planning to bring racing back with a big bang, like to make it something much more exciting, then you need to nail that, right? If you want to build hype for something, you need to nail it the moment it happens. If it's like a gradual improvement, then people don't really tend to take notice. But if it means that they have to take a race season off here to then come back after like a big, period of time of us missing racing and then coming back with this amazing race season, then and if that happens, then that could be a good thing for the long-term health of the game. Look, I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty disappointed because I was really looking forward to this race season. I planned on going pretty hard on this. The timing had worked out perfectly for me, and had the race season started at its usually intended time, I would have probably been participating in like 95% of the races, and maybe even like going for my first like ladder position during the season. I was planning on going pretty hard on this one. I've been sort of preparing for that, because I personally just really enjoy racing, and it seems like you guys like my racing content as well. But obviously now we're gonna have to wait for the next season, and it just means that if this is the case, like they're taking this one race season off, then, and I kind of feel like a dick for saying this, but the next race season needs to be really fucking good. It needs to be really good. So I'm hoping like not just, we added some more prizes, or we added a new race type or something. Like, I'm thinking that the next race season, they need to be really stepping it up if they're taking a full, like, race season off to, to better produce a new race season. If that's indeed what they're doing. It's possible that they're just prioritizing their time away from racing this time, and they just weren't able to get what they wanted done and are more focusing on the expansion, which would make some sense because racing, although I think it's very important for the future of the game, GGG could see internally that their numbers for racing are okay, which I think they have been, but not really like their most significant you know, like income producers or their most significant amount of people playing them. Like the biggest thing for them is new expansion releases, right? New league releases. That's when they're getting, you know, record breaking numbers each time they're releasing a new season. So that's obviously going to have to be their priority focus. But I do really hope that the next race season is coming back with a bang, because I do think racing is very important. Like I think like a third to half of the, you know, major PoE streamers are pretty into racing, and for them it's a big sticking point for the game. Something that's going to keep us playing and streaming. You know, kind of like it gives you something new to stream all the time. If you just, like, you notice towards the end of a season, right, like streamers stop streaming Path of Exile because it's kind of doing the same thing over and over to an extent. But even though racing is like, you know, racing the same things over and over, they're like these little bite-sized competitive events, which are really engaging for quite a few streamers. And I think there's a lot of players that fall in that category as well. And I think racing has been becoming more and more something that's attractive to the newish player that's been playing the game for a little while and is kind of looking to get into that like next involvement level. So becoming, moving from a casual Path of Exile player position to moving to one of those players that's really engaged. And the really engaged players are the ones that stick around, that buy supporter packs and all that jazz. So I think racing is very important both for viewership of the game and also for like the continued funding of the game as well. So I hope that ZiggyD sees that as well. And we'll talk some more about that in State of Exile with some of the other guys. I'm curious to hear what they say. But those are some of my initial thoughts, at least, about that announcement. So following from that is the announcement of the 2-week race. It's like 16 days or something. But it is the 2-week competitive Perandus event starting on May 6th US time, ending on the 22nd of May. There's a whole bunch of demigods prizes up for grabs. The top 25 of each ascendancy class will be able to get themselves as demigods, and then the top of each ascendancy will be able to get an alternate art demigod. So there's a lot of prizes up for grabs this time. They seem to have done pretty good there. And there's also the regular sort of thing they've been doing recently where if you reach like level 70, 10 random players that reach level 70 will receive a necrotic armor set. And so on. There's a whole bunch of those for different levels, starting from level 30 all the way up to level 80. So like the top level 80 one's pretty good too. Ghost Flame armor set, Ghost Flame Herald of Ash effect. Oh, so sexy. Love those Ghost Flame action. So some pretty good prizes. But here's the point of contention. This race is just Perandus League. It's just Perandus League. There's nothing else happening here. This is simply a small, 2-week race of a fresh start for Perandus. Now, that in itself is a pretty fun and exciting thing. Perandus is I think, a really good league. It's a really interesting league. And the start of Perandus is probably the best part of it. When you have coin prices all over the place, when the price of uniques is like the value of buying them with those coins is a much more interesting question, when everything doesn't just kind of come down to check it on PoE trade, okay, it's not worth it. So those like first few days, especially of Perandus League, when you can make some real bank on like getting some sweet Brodero deals, then that's like the most exciting part. So tying that into a race setting as well, I think is pretty interesting. So it'll be interesting to see how like the Perandus economy plays out when it's in a different setting, because in a 2-week race setting, the economy is different to when it's in a 3-month. So there's going to be a different Perandus economy. So I think the idea itself is fine. Like, I think it's a good idea. Perandus is not going to be a core thing in the game moving forward, so this is the last chance for people to experience Perandus, fresh again. And that's kind of cool, and it would be a shame to miss that opportunity, I think. But at the same time, it's the same thing, and I can tell from the overall responses on Reddit and the forums and things like that, people are not very happy with this idea of it being the exact same thing. I think a lot of people are still going to play it and enjoy it, but there is definitely a vocal chunk of the community is not happy with this idea. And I mean, I can totally understand that. It's kind of lazy seeming. I'm not gonna lie, it is kind of lazy seeming. But at the same time, they didn't have to do this 2-week race. There's not really even that much of a precedent for this, really. Like, they've done this sort of stuff in the past before. It's nothing new, but it's not expected that they'll run a 2-week race within the other leagues. That's not really an expectation. It's kind of something they do randomly. So I mean, they could have just not done this. But, they're giving us something extra here with you know, a bunch of MTX prizes and a bunch of demigods up for grabs and stuff like that, as well as a chance to refresh the Perandus economy, a mini refresh before it ends, which is, that's cool. Like, I love playing in new leagues, so I'm going to play this. I think it's going to be fun. But at the same time, you know, people were wanting solo self-found, people were wanting a flashback league, people were wanting Perandus with something else. Now, I think the smartest thing for GG would have been to do to just add some other mod on top of it from a previous mod. Maybe add like a mini flashback mechanic to it where like every day is a mod from a previous league on top of Perandus. That would have been, you know, it doesn't have to be anything extra rewarding. I don't think players want or need, you know, like extra loot. Perandus has got plenty of reward to it already. More about adding like just something else, something new to make it something worth playing besides just being a refresh for Perandus. So even if it just been like something, an extra challenge added on top of the regular Perandus League, I think that would have got people more engaged. And there's still time for GGD to do that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if they react to all of the kind of like negative feedback that's been thrown around, but it'd be pretty cool if they chucked a little bit of extra challenge sprinkled on top just to spice things up a little bit. I think is all that's needed. Just a little bit of spice, just a little bit of paprika, perhaps a little bit of chili powder would have been a bit of chili pea would have been all that was really needed to kind of avoid all of this drama. Basically, if they'd been like Perandus Hot and Spicy Edition, then I think people would have been happy. So that was all that was kind of really needed. Now, just a couple days ago, so this is the third thing, it was announced that Garena Russia is doing a solo self-found 2-week race. So this is happening starting like tomorrow or something, or tomorrow, so very, very soon. And if you guys are in like the Europe region or don't mind the ping to Russia Garena servers, then maybe consider checking this out. I'll put a link in the description below. But they're running a 2-week season, and Garena is kind of like, if you guys don't know, it's a separate company to Path of Exile. They licensed Path of Exile essentially. They're a separate company to GGG, and they do their own monetization on top. Some of it's pretty shonky, like they sell respec points and stuff like that, honestly. So it, like Garena overall, I don't think has the best reputation. But they also kind of get a bit of freedom in like the events they run and stuff like that as separate to GGG. So they do stuff that GGG is not willing to do. And one thing that GGG is not willing to do is do a solo self-found or a league, like a Craftsman's League, where there's boosted drop rates. Chris has said this in the past, that they're not willing to do that. It sets certain expectations on the game, and it borders on the, you know, double XP, double drop rate weekends, you know, that a lot of MMOs run and things like that, which I think diminishes the core game a lot. And I agree with that sentiment from GGG. But at the same time, Garena's running one, and it has 150% increased quantity and 150% increased rarity everywhere. So it's a solo self-found league with 150 quantity and rarity. So that's pretty insane. And I mean, a lot of people are kind of like out of frustration of the Perandus League announcement, out of the Perandus race announcement, or out of like, this is what we actually wanted, are gonna go play this. Now, that's not an option for me. I would actually play this as well. If it was on like the Singapore Garena service, I've checked into it, it's apparently not. If it was on the Singapore Garena service, I might actually play that over the Perandus League. Even though I think the Perandus League would be a fun reset, this is something different, right? And although, like, on the surface, I guess I'm a hypocrite. I don't support the idea of, like, double XP, double drop rate weekends and stuff like that. I would still play it, right? Because it's something new and interesting, and I think it would be kind of fun. But, well, I can't because Russia's server is, like, 400 ping for me, so that's not going to happen. I can't go back to that, man. Can't go back to playing with that ping. I'm spoiled by the Aussie servers, and they're, like, 30 ping now, so I won't be doing that. I'll probably be playing in the competitive Perandus event. I'm 50-50 on deciding whether I'm going to go hard at it or just play it casually at the moment. I think there's the potential there for me to get in and try and win a demis. 25 demis for each ascendancy class. You can pick like a, you know, a low-end ascendancy class like Slayer or something like that people don't like playing, and have a pretty good shot at it. I think a lot of people are going to like flock to the really bad ones. Like, everyone knows Slayer's horrible, right? So I think a lot of people are going to flock to Slayer to try and get an easy demi. So you're probably safer picking like a middle of the road one like Hierophant or Pathfinder or Champion or something. Oh, not Champion. Or what is it? Guardian. Something like that, right? Something middle of the road that not too many people play, but it has less publicity as being a horrible class. So So I think that might be the strategy. So I'll think about it, but I'll get back to you guys and we'll see what we do. But I'll probably stream it at the very least. So there's some thoughts on the race stuff, guys. It's interesting at the moment. There's been a lot of negativity from the community towards GGG over these like sets of announcements, right? Like Garena doing what a lot of people wanted, with GGG announcing a race, like a 2-week race that is seemingly lazy, and with the race season being cancelled, it's like it's a tough time to be a GGG employee at the moment. They copping a lot of shit, and I mean it's reasonably warranted. Like it's I think a reasonable set of things for people to complain about. At the same time, I'm not like incredibly upset about all this because I can see a lot of the reasoning for it, and hopefully you guys kind of do as well. And you know, maybe cut them a little slack, but I think it's fine to complain, right? I think it's fine to let know that you wanted a little bit of extra spice on your 2-week race, that you're disappointed that racing's not here, and that you're hoping that they bring the next race season back, better. Make sure that you you let people know that, but try to do it in a civil fashion, if possible. We'll see. This is the internet. Anyway, guys, a bit of a different pace video, just a rambling. I thought I might do some rambling videos like this every now and then. If you're into it, let me know. That is it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.